Hi everyone, hope you're all doing well, especially considering the current worldwide circumstances. I hope you're all safe and healthy and that your families and friends are all doing well as well. It's been a while since I've updated anything. I've actually been incredibly busy lately, lounging around, playing Animal Crossing, getting fat, being all around very productive. This video is, I'm painting something for my dad's birthday, which is coming up shortly. And this is, he's very big into like old buildings and family related places. So this might not be the most exciting image, but it's something that we're all very fond of, and I just thought I'd record it as I was painting, and that's kind of it. There was a little bit of a jump there, I know, when there was suddenly some paint on the page, and that was when I didn't realize that I hadn't pressed record, which is incredibly intelligent of me, but the rest of the video should be fine, so I hope you enjoy it from here on out. What I liked most about this photo is the lighting. I think it was taken roughly in about, I don't know, it doesn't matter what time. It was in the evening anyway, so there was some really nice evening sunlight on this tower, and I really wanted to capture it in this kind of nice little magical, golden hour light. I've started off by using watercolors, which probably wasn't the best idea because I'm not really very familiar with watercolors yet. I know I've used them in the past in some videos, but to be honest, I'm still really shaky on them. They're just not quite as opaque as I would ever like them to be. I always think that they look lovely in their tubes, in their pans, and when I see other people using them, I feel like, I can do that. That's no problem. They look like really good, strong colors. But then when I actually go to use it, it's always very dull. I don't know. I am very aware that I never really learned how to use watercolors properly. So everything that I am doing is just from what I've picked up from other people, and it's not perfect, but it doesn't really matter because I actually end up only using it as a base for the rest of my colouring later on, which you'll then see I will layer on top of that, and it kind of acts more like a colour guide for me when I eventually decide to scrap the watercolouring altogether. You'll see how it goes anyway. It's fairly self-explanatory. I decided to leave it a relatively long video, mainly because, I don't know, sometimes I find it interesting to just watch people's process without massive cuts in it, and this way I was able to just kind of record myself and just paint away, and I wasn't worried about like talking to the camera. I just took my time and did what I felt I needed to do. This way I kind of feel like I'm able to talk a little bit more freely afterwards. I'm not constantly interrupting myself to explain what I'm doing or whatever. Yeah, as of right now I'm just still using watercolors, and later on I'll get into some gouache painting, and I will be using my polychromos colouring pencils. I'm not really sure what to update you on. Nothing's really happened since my last video. I know there's been a very, very long gap since I last posted. I've just been very kind of hot and cold about making stuff. To be honest, I haven't been motivated at all lately. Probably I can use the current circumstances as an excuse, but it went on before that, so I can't really. I just really haven't been very inspired or motivated lately. I'm not really sure why. Not inspired. That's not true. There's been plenty that I've wanted to do. I have wanted to work, but I've just had such a lack of motivation, and it's really hard to make myself do anything. I know sometimes you just have to make yourself do it, but it's just been hard lately. I felt like I was really rusty actually with this picture because it's been so long since I've painted. You can see I'm starting to use the polychromos because I just got sick of using the watercolour. I wasn't happy with how the colours were turning out. I wanted them to be much stronger. The way the lighting was working out wasn't working out actually. It wasn't going the way I had envisioned it. So I find it's always salvageable. When I use watercolour, I usually like to use polychromos on top of it anyway. I really like the texture it gives it, and it just lets you kind of scribble some really saturated colours on top of it, and that suits me fine. I like when there's texture like that in my paintings. I've started doing a lot more kind of landscapey pictures lately as well. I say a lot, actually just a few. And I'm really enjoying it. Landscape isn't something that I ever thought I would get into. My mother, who is an artist, is a landscape artist, and I grew up watching her paint landscapes all the time, landscapes and seascapes. But I just never got into it. And because I was so much more interested in portraiture, I kind of almost like decided that I wasn't going to do landscapes ever. That wasn't my thing. I was a portrait artist and that was that. Whereas now, especially because I'm dabbling in illustration a little bit more, I'm finding ways of actually doing these landscapes in a style that suits me, that I really enjoy doing. And this is kind of an extension of that. I have done a few others, like they're on my Instagram if you're curious and want to see them. I did them like a month or two ago, so they're there. They're nothing special, but it's more just the interest is starting to kind of peak a little, not peak, sorry. The interest is starting to perk up a little bit, which is good. It gives me something else to do when I'm feeling particularly uninspired in doing portraits. So you can see basically here I'm just building up colour over and over and over. The thing that I'm not looking forward to is, I don't know if you can really see in the photo, but obviously in the background there are a ton of really skinny trees, and they're all glowing with that evening sunlight. And I'm through the whole picture, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do them. Like, do I want to do them in paint? Do I want to do them in the pencil? How am I going to do it in a way that it looks full and lush, but not scribbly, if that makes sense? I know earlier I was just saying I like a scribbly texture, but I like it when it looks purposeful, not because I didn't know what I was doing, which is essentially kind of how I went about it later on. But I think it worked out in the end. I'm actually quite pleased with the end result. Like, I'll be happy to present it as a birthday present. And I hope, obviously, that my dad will be happy to get it. So I hope that you guys have been, like I said, doing well. I can't really complain about how things are going here in Ireland. I know there are plenty of people who will complain. For me, I feel like things, of course, could go better, but they're not going terribly. I know that's very easy for me to say because I haven't lost anybody, or no one in my immediate family or friend circle has been affected. So I count myself extremely lucky for that. And I'm not going to go in too much into it because it's not very pleasant to talk about, obviously. And I feel like making a video like this, there's an escape element to it. You know, people might want to watch it for, you know, to not think about that. So okay, I'll stop talking about it. But I hope you're all well anyway. One of the things I found really difficult lately is especially seeing online, like on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube especially, all of these illustrators and artists who I admire a lot, who, while they're struggling, they still seem to be able to be producing art. And I don't know, I'm just finding it really hard at the moment. It's just like I have this mental block. It's not even a mental block, it's more like a physical block. Mentally, I want to do the work. Mentally, I want to paint, I want to draw. But physically, it's just like I'm tired all the time. And all I want to do is just lounge on my sofa, watch YouTube and play Animal Crossing. Oh, on that note, how many of you are actually playing Animal Crossing and what do you think of it? My only other Animal Crossing game was New Leaf, and I really, really enjoyed that. Yeah, and it's just really, really pleasant and all around really cute, and I'm happy with how my town is coming along. My island is still very, very underdeveloped, but you know, it's heading in the direction that I'm happy with. Oh yeah, about the painting. So you can see now that I've moved into gouache paints because, like I say, the watercolour just wasn't doing it for me. The colours weren't strong enough, and I feel in general much more confident using gouache. And because it has a really nice soft matte finish, the polychrome must look great on top of it as well. The only thing I find I do, which isn't ideal, is sometimes I'll pack the colour on a bit too thick. So if I'm scribbling back on top of it with the colouring pencil, it might actually chip the paint off. So I'm still kind of trying to keep an eye on when I do that. But I mean, it doesn't really matter, you know, it's always fixable with some more paint. It's not the end of the world. I feel straight away much more at ease with using gouache than I am with watercolour. I'm much happier, even if the colours aren't like 100% accurate to the photo, and they're not, I do know that, but it's more just the attempt in trying to capture that mood of that lighting, that evening light, and how everything just feels in that atmosphere. Obviously I'm trying to keep it as close as I can, reasonably can, to the photo. But yeah, I'm not too worried about it not looking 100% accurate, because I always feel, while it's I think it's very admirable when people are able to replicate a photo perfectly, but you know, sometimes you just need to use a bit of artistic license, you know? And it's not something that bothers me. I feel like if it's something that will move naturally in reality, it doesn't need to be exactly like in the photo. Like trees will sway in the wind, leaves will, you know, rustle. Like even in portraits, hair, people change their hairstyles, hair moves. So if it doesn't look exactly like the way it does in the photo, I'm not too worried about it, because it's not something that's static anyway. It's not like a face, which isn't going to change that much, if at all. So yeah, branches, the way the leaves are shaped, like the foliage, the bundles of foliage is shaped, I'm not too worried about not getting that 100% accurate. I just want to get the mood from the light and, you know, have it still be obviously what I'm, the tower that I'm trying to paint. But I mean, I think it comes out well in the end. One thing that I find really satisfying is the intensity of the yellow on the tree and the building behind it. There's just something about that kind of lighting that really, I don't know, it gives me like shivers when it works out really, really well. When you just have that spot, especially in paintings where there's just like a spotlight on a particular area of the painting and it's just really strong saturated colour, and it's so beautiful, I think, to look at, and it's really, I don't know, I can't even really describe it. It's kind of like, oh, you get tingles a little bit from it just because the colour is so sharp and vibrant. It's having like it's that little effect here that I really enjoy with the tree, that's just completely golden, and it works really well, I think, against the kind of the purpley shadowy tones of that tower, and then kind of outlining a little bit with oranges and pinks and just like really dabbing bright spots of saturated colour around the place is just, that was one of the most satisfying parts, definitely. Here I'm drawing all of the trees, I'm making an attempt at it, and you can kind of tell that I don't really know what I'm doing, so it just does end up looking a bit scribbly, but again, I think I managed to salvage it. At least by my standards, I feel like I salvage it. I can't fathom how people manage to draw every single branch and leaf on a painting. It just boggles my mind how anybody has the patience to do that. I don't. I'm patient only for a certain number of things, and monotonous detail like that is not one of them. So here I just keep adding more dabs of colour. I keep changing between the colours because I can't decide what I want to do. So I'm going between like the greens and the yellows and the oranges and pinks. I always find that there's something quite charming though about an illustration that's not quite perfect. If it does look a little bit scribbly, if it does look a little bit unpolished, I like that. I like how it looks. I'm not saying this to kind of like excuse myself for what I clearly am not able to do, but it's all a part of kind of learning and getting a feel for how things are turning out. And yeah, I don't know, I'm very aware that I'm rambling at this point. I wasn't sure that I wanted to talk for the whole video, but I also didn't want to just drop it halfway and leave half of it with nothing but music. So I know I am rambling, so I am going to stop now. I hope you at least enjoyed watching the process, regardless of whether you were interested in what I had to say. So anyway, yeah, there isn't really that much more to say at all. I'm just finishing up little bits and details and stuff, so I'll leave it at that. I wish you all the best. Again, I hope you're all doing well. And I don't know how soon I'll produce another video. I don't even know what to do. I don't know what I could do that would be interesting. So I will think about it. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching and all the best. Yeah, thanks very much, and I will see you or talk to you in the next video. Bye!